Hello everyone, and welcome back to our How to Play Go series. In this lesson, we're going to work on capture direction. This means we're going to have two ways to put our opponent into Atari and threaten to capture. However, we need to figure out which one's the best one to play. Let's look at an example first. Here, white is an Atari. This means white is one move away from getting captured. However, if we go one move back, we can see there's an Atari here and an Atari here. There's two ways to put this white stone into an Atari. If there's other stones on the board, which way you choose can matter greatly, and also where you're located on the board matters greatly. Therefore, if you have two ways to capture your opponent, then make sure you pick the one that is most likely to capture the stone, otherwise your opponent might escape easily because you had a bad direction choice. Let's look at some examples. Our first example is, of course, the ladder. The ladder is our biggest example because it matters greatly which direction you choose. So let's say our opponent runs away. Do you remember the ladder sequence? If we play the ladder sequence and play it this way, and Atari from the right direction every single move, our opponent ends up getting captured. And there's no way out. However, if we Atari from the wrong direction, our opponent can easily get out and now has 3 liberties. There will be some players that say, hey, there's black stones here, so white might not be able to run away. Well, that's not the idea. The principle is we shouldn't let our opponent have any chances to escape if we can help it. If we chose the right direction, white had no options and no chance for escape. Here, white might be able to create something and maybe end up living, but we don't want that to happen. So the direction here is very important. And of course, every move in the ladder sequence is a direction choice. I can Atari here, but then white escapes. So I have to Atari from this side, right? But if I Atari here and white goes this way, then now if I keep Ataring, there might be an Atari here, might be an Atari here. So the direction really matters. Make sure you keep changing direction with the ladder. And that's the correct directional choice in order to capture the stones in a ladder. So here we can see the most obvious example is the ladder and how the change of direction can impact the result greatly. So here's an example of capturing white. I want you to choose which Atari here or here is best to capture the white stone. I will give you a hint. The edge has a lack of liberties. So if you can push your opponent in that direction, it's usually a good direction to play. All right, were you able to choose this one or this one? So let's look at this one first. If we play here, white plays here. White has 3 liberties, and now if we try to surround, white's going to keep running. So it looks like this is the wrong direction. But if we play here and white plays here, now we're on the edge, and now white only has 2 liberties. The edge is a great place to push your opponent when you're trying to capture or force them down because it has 0 points and a very big lack of liberties. It becomes very easy to capture stuff if it's on the edge. So let's place this into Atari again. White runs, now he only has 1 liberty, we can capture. This is a shape I want you to memorize. If it's on the second line and you can push it down, then there's no way out. Because if you go this way, white only has 1 liberty and you can capture. If you go this way, white only has 1 liberty and you can capture. So this direction actually doesn't matter because as long as there's no surrounding stones, white can't get out. So this shape here, very, very important that you Atari towards the edge and not on the edge, because otherwise your opponent will escape. This is a shape that'll be most commonly played in beginner games. Make sure you remember it so that way you never miss the chance to capture your opponent on the edge. Let's look at some more examples. Here, black has 2 choices here. Now, sometimes the choices don't matter. Sometimes they do. So which choice would you choose here? And would you say it matters or does it matter? In this case, we can Atari from here, white goes down, and capture. And if we Atari from here, White goes down, we capture. So in this case, it actually doesn't matter. What about this one? Does it matter? Here or here? Which one's good and which one's bad? Now, I will give you a hint. I am trying to trick you. I gave you a concept in the last example. However, this one might be a little bit different. All right, so first, our first option is to push them to the edge. This is the idea that we just learned, right? So if we push him to the edge and then push him to the edge, he escapes. So actually, the surrounding stones changed it. So this is an exception. The last shape is very important to remember because most of the time it does capture your opponent. However, in this case, this is when there's surrounding stones that can change the sequence. You may ask, why didn't I cut here? But how many liberties do I have? White can capture. So I can't actually cut the stone off. Therefore, when white descends down, white's going to be able to connect out. So in order to change it, we just change our direction. This shape is actually a ladder. We just play it this way. White runs, and then we push it to the edge because now white can't connect. We push to the edge and we can capture. So we stopped the connection first and then we pushed it to the edge. Remember here, we also had a choice. We could have pushed it this way, but then white escapes. So stop the connection first and then push to the edge, and we were able to capture. Maybe this one was a little bit confusing, but I wanted to make sure you saw an exception to the shape I just showed you last time in order to show that, hey, this shape, while it works a lot of the times, there is an exception, and the exception is when there's stones surrounding it, you have to be very careful and read very accurately and make sure you count the liberties. But the principle still applies. First we cut, and then we push to the edge. Pushing to the edge is normally the way to go when you can. Your goal should be eventually, if not immediately, push them to the edge and they'll run out of liberties and you can capture. All right, let's look at another example. Here. This one is a good shape and a very common shape that you'll see in games. Try to find the move to play on your own without a hint this time. All right, were you able to solve it? Let's go ahead and look. This white stone can actually be captured. The way to capture it is to actually cut white and push him to the edge. It's the same shape we saw in the two previous examples. Here, white runs to the edge, and now he can't escape. If we Atari from this side though, white will connect. This shape is very, very common. Even in higher level games, many players will see this shape. While they may not fix it immediately due to the territorial value not being as big as somewhere else, eventually this move will get played because both players know that if I play this one, or if black plays this one, white is going to die. However, if white plays, for example, here, then white is going to connect and live. So this is a common shape that you'll see very often. It is important to remember that this cut works as long as you're next to the edge. All right, now that we've chosen directions for capturing, what about directions for saving? In this case, white is about to capture black with this Atari or this Atari. To save, you normally want to play one of the options as well. We can use a proverb here. Our opponent's move is my move. So if our opponent wants to push us to the edge, then maybe we don't want to run towards the edge. Where would white play to capture black? And what happens if black plays that move? Let's see. If I was white, I would try to Atari from this side and push black to the edge. And that way, black will die. So what if I play it? But now you see I no-be out and start connecting with my stones. And I have a lot of support and 1, 2, 3, 4 liberties. This is a success for black. If I run to the edge, then white can play it. And now it's the same shape because now it looks like white Atari'd and I ran to the edge and now I have no way out. So if I go here, white Ataris, even if black cuts, take. If I run here, white Ataris and no way out. So I'm trapped along the edge with only 2 liberties. The mistake Black made was he ran to the edge to gain liberties and connection. Remember, the edge does not have liberties. So it is better to run away from the edge in order to gain liberties and secure yourself. So, in conclusion, if you have multiple ways to Atari, try to check the surrounding stones and check where you are on the board. Sometimes the difference in Ataris can matter greatly. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that lesson, and I will see you guys next time.